you individually do play a role. Your actions, what you do and what you do not do, does bear impact. That can't be burdensome, and it won't be burdensome if you actually sit with love, real mahabbah, and think about where and how you fit into all of this, and not just pass it to somebody else, because this can't be like another Friday where you listen and you hear, and then you go back to the world and you get distracted by it. This footage is of the city of Antakya. If you look in the middle, just right over here, this is where people in our group are standing. 500,000 people lived in this city. 250,000 refugees on top of that. And when you see a building that's broken, it's very different than when you can see from the top what this devastation actually was like. So many of us have heard these verses of the Quran being recited in the last couple of weeks. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. We talk to some of these people and ask them, what was this like for you? They said, SubhanAllah, we've never heard a sound like this in our lives. Children, adults, men and women, people of Turkey, people of Syria, Palestinians, Uyghurs, every single one of them said it felt like this was Yawm al-Qiyamah. Some of them said that the sound was so frightening and terrifying. The sound of rocks being squeezed together. And you gotta understand that when they say there's thousands of aftershocks that take place, there's other earthquakes that come into this. And you read an article that tells you that there wasn't any further damage to buildings and people didn't pass away as much. You just come in really close. Yeah. On one of the last nights that I was there was another earthquake that hit. And it was of a 5.1 magnitude. Its epicenter was in the water, but it still shook the earth. And I was filming one of these videos at night with somebody, and the camera person said, I feel something. And then two people came and knocked on the door where we were, and they said, just be ready, we might have to run out of the building, because we didn't know if it was going to fall on us. And what was happening throughout this entire locale, people who had previously been afraid to go into their homes and had eventually some of them gone back, were all now out on the street, scared out of their mind. Is everything going to fall apart on us again? I want you to think, man, about what disasters like this give to us in terms of real revelations. Because I sat down with people who for weeks, going, hour upon hour, the day and the night, they just didn't sleep. All they were doing was trying to see, is there anybody alive under this rubble? There was people from all different parts of the world. But it's important for us to note that what's happening in Turkey is a little different than what's happening in Syria. I was there as a guest on a trip sponsored by Turkish Airlines, and the Turkish equivalent of what is FEMA, it's called AFAD. It's their Emergency and Disaster Management Ministry. They have some infrastructure that allows for trained individuals to be going through this rubble. People who have a certain skill set that can try their best to do what they can and assess what is safe and not safe. Our sisters and brothers in Syria, some of them what we met, they said, we've been living under airstrikes for so many years, bombarding our buildings, and now earthquakes are bringing them to the ground. And because there's no infrastructure for them to be able to rely upon, there are people like you and I that are volunteering in that part of Syria, going through the rubble, where on the Turkey side they have trained professionals. And you have to understand that when somebody says, is there anything else that I can do other than give money? This is a trick of shaitan. Right now, the most important thing that you can be doing is giving funds and money. I was walking through Antakya. I went through some of these places. I saw just this little tiny shoe. And I thought, whose foot was wearing this at one point? Every one of these buildings had a function, a utility. Nobody woke up that morning or went to bed thinking that this was going to happen. Lives that were being lived, dreams that were being aspired towards, relationships that were being built. So much that people wanted to do. This woman's name is Maryam. She's standing with her 2 grandchildren. Our sister Maryam, we met on the second day that we were on the ground. She lives in the southern part of Turkey, about 3 hours from where we were stationed in Gaziantep. And when we went to see her, we got as close to the Syrian border as we possibly could. There's people from our community who live in Turkey that said, come with me, I'll take you into Syria. I've never been to Syria. I'm not Syrian. And I can literally see over the horizon, past a wall, into the northern part of Syria. And every part of my heart ached. Because I knew there was people there who are going through such difficulty. Allah grant them peace. People who have lived in conflict for so long. This woman was a refugee from that country. I want you to hear just from her a little bit, some of her own words, in terms of what it was like for her during this earthquake.
هم في أنطاكيا؟
إيه كانوا
والبيت وقع؟
أيوة.
وابن اختنيته 5 من هاي السنة. هاي بنتكم بتحميتها وبنت عمتها.
كيف شعرتوا بالزلزال؟ احكي لنا.
رحنا وجينا مثل السرير. أول إجت خفيفة وبعدها إجت
حسيتي سمعتي صوت؟
مثل الرعد. أجام ترعد الدنيا رعد. إيه هيك.
وحدة؟ رعدة واحدة ولا
لا كثير كثير كثير. بعد طلعنا لبرا إيه وصرت صيح أنا فأولادي أبدي وكنتي. إيه هيك. ما وعينا لحالنا الله يسلمك. الله يبارك.
وبعدين وين رحتوا؟
برا رحنا لبرا طلعنا. وين بدنا نروح الله يساعد. برا وقفنا. وين بدنا نروح؟ الحمد لله عطيت الله. الحمد لله عطيت الله كل ساعة.
وصفي كيف الصوت كان؟ كيف كان صوت الزلزال؟
ما حسيت مثل الرعد. ما عرفت.
كنتوا نايمين؟
أول ما أنا فقت شيء بياخذني هيك وبيجيبني هيك. في الزيت انشرف على هالمين انشرف على هالمين انشرف على هالمين انشرف. صرت صيح. طلعت لبرا كذلك الأمر في عالم برا.
عرفت انه زلزال يعني كان ولا ما كان؟
مثل الزلزال مثل الزلزال. أنا حسيت هون بس ما مثل هيك.
أول مرة زي هيك.
هاي أول مرة هيك. صحيح الهزة بتهز هيك بس هذا مثل البحر مدري كيف.
شيء الأرض عم بترج من تحتك يعني. الأرض عم بترج من تحت.
شيء هيك نهضوا نزل هي وهاي بنت ابني وهذا ابن ابني أودي ولادي
الله يخليك يا
هذا الثاني وأشو بيقول لك بكشف على بطنه.
شو اسمك انت؟ شو اسمك؟
You won't see it in the video, but this young boy lifted his shirt up to show us a scar on the right side of his ribcage. That as the earth was shaking his bed through him, and he fractured his ribs as a result of it. These two children, their names are Hiba and Hamza. We went to a trauma center for children impacted by the earthquake. So our sister Melanie the Turk, some of you might know her, she comes to the IC. She is also the CEO of How Hijab. She was part of the group. Hiba and Hamza are Syrian refugees. If you were to even just guess in your head how old they are, you'd probably be right. All they've known for their whole life is conflict. The only thing that they have ever experienced, these beautiful babies, in their entire existence, has just been the realities of hardship. And we went through this children's trauma center, and child after child was in a place where they had such light on their face. This kid was posing really hard. And he said, "Take my picture," and I did. He said, "Take it again." I did. He said, "One more time." And I showed it to him, and I said, "Which one looks good?" He said, "All of them." I said, "So what should I show people?" He said, "Show them each one." Children. And I show you their faces because when I met with some of the electeds of Turkey, and we said, "What do you need from us in America?" They said, "There's so many orphans right now. There's so many children who they don't have anybody." I want you to remember these faces on this blessed day of Jumu'ah. Because in Ramadan this year, we're going to raise funds specially for these children in Syria and Turkey. You got to think what it is to be a child who is a refugee. You got to think what it is to be a child in the aftermath of a natural disaster, a child who has experienced the realities of ethnic cleansing, genocide, so much that the world is filled with right now. And these babies are already in a place where the people who exist in their orbits, who know them, who know their names, who know when they were born, who can tell us stories about the first time they took steps, or the first time they talked, or the first time they did anything. That circle of individuals is getting smaller and smaller for each of them. It's not a joke when our Prophet tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the one who takes care of an orphan in this world is going to be like this with him in the world beyond this one. That's why it's got to be love that you sit here with. That's why I have to sit here with an open heart and a recognition of how do you fit into some of this. This man's name is Abdul Jalil. Abdul Jalil is sitting with his son Ahmed Yunus here. You can't tell from this photo, but Ahmed is confined to a wheelchair. And I ran into Abdul Jalil as we were walking through the streets surrounded by all of this rubble, this devastation. And he has 9 of his family members that are with him, living on the street. Here, everybody just move in close. If you come in, there's people standing in the back. We'll make everybody fit, don't worry. I asked Abdul Jalil, what was it like for you when you were experiencing this? And he said, I thought that the last hour was upon us. I said, what did you do? And he said, the first thing that I thought of was of my child. Beyond the love that a parent is supposed to have for their child, his child has special needs. And so he rushed to get his child out of the home. And you can see behind him this kind of makeshift apparatus. That's where him and 9 of his family members are living right now. There's a piece of cardboard that covers the doorway. And when you open it, all that it fits is a single person bed. And Abdul Jalil, he said to me that we take turns resting on this bed. And in the lawn in front of this, there was a couch where he said, the rest of us will sit there while somebody sleeps. And we just take turns back and forth. It's also freezing cold, 24 degrees of temperature in the midst of all this. As I'm talking to him, I said, is there anything that you want me to tell people? He said, just say thank you. Tell them that we appreciate them for their support, for their help, that they are here with us in their du'as and in their prayers. And then he grabbed me by my head, man. And then he gave me a kiss on my forehead. The only other person in the world who has ever kissed me like this is my own father. Would come up to me and put his hands on my head, kiss me on my forehead, and would say, Khalid, I'm proud of you. I love you. Many of you know my father had a severe stroke some years ago that left him paralyzed on the right side of his body without the ability to speak. He can't talk, he can't walk. One of the last things that my father did in my interactions with him before his stroke was he grabbed me like this and kissed me on my forehead in this way. And when this man who lived through multiple earthquakes, who sits in the grass in front of a makeshift shack while his family members takes turns sleeping on a bed and sitting on a couch, turned to me and kissed me in this way and said, thank you for being here. I said, how is somebody like you thanking somebody like me? It reminded me so much of what it is that people go through when they have a certain care for the young people in their lives. I'm going to put back that video with the sound off, and I want you to hear it just through your eyes as I talk to you. Because this is what it's like on the ground here right now. There's so many more people's stories that I could share with you. There's so many more people whose names and narratives that maybe over the course of the next weeks, next months, I will share with you. There's going to be some times when I'm not going to be here as much as I'd like to be. Not because of any other reason other than there's a trust that we have as a community with these people that will require me to go and share their stories with others in this country and different parts of the world so that when they need now millions and millions of dollars, as they sleep in tents, as you're going to see, as they have really next to nothing, and all of their belongings are now under the rubble that is in front of you, we're going to have to do our part to help them and to assist them. I want you to just understand some things that were really remarkable, subhanAllah. One, there wasn't any person that I talked to, young or old, Syrian, Turk, Palestinian, Uyghur, who had any complaints. But every single one of them, throughout all of this, said, Allah is going to get us through. Not one, and it's not even an exaggeration, did any one of them say, why is this happening? Why are we going through what we are going through? If anything, on the contrary, the demonstration of faith that was there was so remarkably strong. There were people who were under the rubble. If you've ever read or heard or seen something like this, they experience these tragedies in real time. There's people right now who are going through this experience. And when they would find some people, they can't immediately excavate them. You can't just pull them out from under the rubble. There's a lot more complexity to it. And some of these people they would find, they would engage them and have conversations with them, and the people would say, bring me some water, I need to pray. And we'd say that right now the first thing you're thinking about is your salah. And they'd say, what else is there to think about? We still got to pray our prayers. I want you to think about this for yourself in terms of the relationship to your iman and your faith. That it's subjective, our struggles, but under the rubble of buildings that they lived in, that fell on top of them, they're still in a place where they're saying, the priority is my commitment to this. And that means there's no reason why any one of us can't tell a professor it's time for me to go and pray. That means there's no reason why you can't tell your boss that on the day of Jumu'ah, I go for longer than a lunch break. Children that we spoke to who were under the rubble for 30, 40 hours. And when they were asked what it was like, they said that it wasn't 30 or 40 hours, maybe it was 30 minutes. And they gave depictions and descriptions of men that were dressed all in white that came and were giving them food and giving them drink. And you can say, how can that be? If you have iman in this religion, then you understand how it can be. And the idea that they didn't complain about any of it, that there was no questioning whatsoever, is fundamental to theology within this religion. There is nothing without meaning in God's plan. But to be able to embrace that necessitates understanding that I don't always have to understand it for there to be khair and wisdom in it. I relate to the idea that I am the abd, I am not Rabb. I don't have to go through the exercise of intellectualizing somebody's struggle or to be able to explain as to why they go through what they go through in a simply rhetorical or academic way. But I do what it is that I can. And I try my best to be what it is that I know that God intended for me to be. You know how we went through the pandemic here? May Allah make things easy. You know how some of you called me in those first weeks and you said, Khalid, as a doctor, today I lost 80 patients. Today I lost 100 patients. Today I lost 75 patients. But you still kept going into those places and helping people. There are beautiful people like that working in these grounds right now, trying to help and trying to assist. Getting done what they have unique capacity to get done. A doctor that I met who works for one of these relief agencies who said, do not take a picture of me or a video. Not because he thinks it's haram, but he said that if people knew that I was in charge of what I'm in charge of right now, they would not let me back and forth between Syria and Turkey to do the work that I'm doing. That there's people who do not want to see people be helped. There's people who could care less about what others are going through. And every single day that we were there, this man was sleeping on the streets with the people. This man was up until the middle of the nights with the people. And I saw him and I said, how do I get to be made of a little bit of what you are made of? How do I get my own sense of ethics and values in check? So that the silliness of what it is that distracts me in this world is no longer an obstacle in my way. That I understand what true purpose is and what it really means to be somebody who lives in this world the way a mu'min is meant to live. Whose Islam is not something that simply is bringing benefit to me, but their Islam brings benefit to those who are around them. Who does not understand this religion simply in terms of externals or books that you read, but lives and actualizes what the text speaks about. That's what you all need to do. That's what it is that we have to get done. We have a campaign that's running right now that likely many of you have supported. And it's already raised, subhanAllah, $768,000. And I'm so proud of this community. That whenever it is that people are in need, you step up. It doesn't make a difference if individually we have the capacity to give or not. But when you learn about the potential of what it is that you are capable of, that means you got to keep doing it. You don't stop. You keep pushing yourself. You don't say, that was enough. We're in a place where regardless of who reports what and what you see on a screen or what shows up to you in a feed, with a wakeful heart you walk through this world. And you understand the realities of what it is that people go through. By simply engaging in a mode of empathy that says that there's no way to know what this is like unless you've actually lived it. And as I wrap up, we're going to start the khutbah. If you give our brother Khalid a moment so that he can get the camera stuff to the front and we'll adjust ourselves. I want to read you a hadith that likely many of you have heard, but I want you to think about it simply in relation to what's going on in this part of the world. Reflect on it from your heart. Think about it not in terms of what's distracting you or where you need to be after this, but just know you are exactly where you are supposed to be. And understand the meaning of this through a facet of what it is that so many are going through in the world. Ubaydullah ibn Ihsan radiallahu anh, he reports that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whoever among you wakes up secure in his property, healthy in his body, and he has food for the day, it is as if he were given the entire world. Whoever amongst you wakes up secure in his property, healthy in his body, and has his food for the day, it is as if he were given the entire world. You and I have so much, man. We have so much. And I want you to just think about this hadith. Think about it in terms of all you've been given. What is it that you're chasing after? Think about what you really have capacity to share, and are you giving it? And the last thing that I'll say is I asked every one of these people, what is it that you want me to let people know? And they said, tell them not to waste time. None of us woke up thinking that this earthquake was going to hit us. When you have over 47,000 bodies recovered of the deceased, and the numbers are so much more. You have hundreds of thousands that are injured and over 1 million that are displaced right now without homes. You have to remember who it is that's telling you. That you want to tell the people that you love them. You don't want to wait to pray the prayer that you can pray today, tomorrow. You don't want to put off what you have capacity to accomplish in this moment for a time that might not come. And this is not coming from me, this is coming from people that I met who literally lost 10 members of their family in this. People who for the next year of their life are going to live in a tent. People who for the last however many decades, a decade of their life, have lived in this way. They're saying, go out and do good things with your time. Don't waste the life that you've been given. Don't fight over stupid things. Don't argue unnecessarily. Take the time to heal your hearts and heal the relationships that you have. Honor the people around you and honor the responsibilities that have been endowed upon you. So just remember their words. And give them the honor that they deserve. These people are from the Shuhada. They are given the highest levels of Jannah. And if anybody's going to tell you what it is that we need to hear, it's going to be somebody who went through this kind of stuff. Just sit for a moment and be still. We're going to get things ready so that we can start the khutbah. And allow for yourself in that moment to just make dua, to do dhikr, to reflect. And make a commitment that you are not going to let any day in this world pass you by without you being a source of light, a source of goodness, a source of benefit for yourself as well as someone else in Allah's creation. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to be able to get done what we have the ability to get done through this remarkable community that Allah has gifted us with. Wallahu ta'ala alam wa billahi tawfiq.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the Master of the Day of Judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the Master of the Day of Judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. Some of you might be aware that last night there was the news that in Egypt there was an earthquake as well. And some of you might have no idea. The reality is the way that we get information quite often, it's not conscious, it's not through our own efforts, but we're just given information based off of what people tell us we should be thinking about. So much of what this deen is about is not being able to think, but to regain and harness the ability to choose what you think about and how you think about the things that you think about. And moments like this are where you can understand who it is that you are and how it is that you perceive the reality of this world around you. You are not given the opportunity to study at an institution like this. You are not given the degrees, the networks, the job titles that you have. The wealth that you have and has been given to you is not from your own efforts. There is a God that is the creator of all things, that is the source of all of our sustenance. There is a God that has made you and I and has put you in the place that you are in. And you have to be in a place where you are not afraid to live to your fullest of potential. That you meet the challenges of this world and everything that it throws at you by recognizing it's just temporary. That you understand that the steps that you tread in don't have to be in the steps of those that don't have any idea who their teachers are, but you remember always who your teacher is, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the coming days when you need a reason to get up for the Fajr prayer and push back the warmth of these blankets that encompass you. And you remember about these people who are sleeping in their cars in frigid weather. Who in the midst of that, they're calling for wudu so that they could pray to their God. When you think about whether you're going to fast or not, if you have an exam or a meeting or something else that comes into the fray. You think about those who are going to go and they don't have any water in their entire cities to even drink, let alone think about what it is that they're going to break their fast upon. You think about whether you're going to be a source of beauty, a source of goodness, or a source of dread for this world. Then always choose righteousness. Always choose to be an agent of luminosity. You just have to be bold enough to see yourself the way that God sees you. You have to be bold enough to break out of the boxes that the world puts you in that you're most definitely bigger than. And just live each day as best as you can. That's all Allah wants from us. It's moments like this where we can reflect and think about if we're living to that potential. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. Inshallah ta'ala, all the sadaqah that we have from today is going to be going towards this campaign to assist our brothers in Syria and Turkey. Our students have set up a bake sale outside where if you can stop and support, the proceeds from that will be going as well. You can go online to our campaign, launchgood.com/ICNYU for Turkiye, Turkiye. Honestly, it doesn't make a difference to me if you contribute to that or contribute someplace else, but just go and give something to someplace. And allow for yourself to not be stuck in a place that says that, well, I gave yesterday, should I give again tomorrow? You should give every day. If you have to change the way that you eat and where you go out so that you can now be a source of being able to give something, then give more in that way and change your habits. These types of experiences should be transformational in the ways that we walk in this world. But make a firm commitment that even where the rest of the world forgets, you're not going to forget. You're going to do whatever it is you can to assist these people in their time of need and whoever else it is that we find ourselves with the opportunity to be a means through which Allah brings hope to them, strength to them, and His mercy to them. But you make your own choices. Inshallah ta'ala, you're going to always choose beauty over anything else. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وفي الآخرين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah, and beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all of their hearts that are gathered here, only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. We turn to you, Ya Kareem, on this Mubarak day of Jumu'ah, you who is most generous, you who is most kind, and ask of you from the depths of our hearts, Ya Rabbi, to bring ease and peace and relief to any who are suffering in this world. We ask, Ya Allah, that you help for us to see ourselves as a source of healing for your creation. Make us always the reason that people have hope in this world, and never the reason that people might dread it. Make us those who live in this world with bold, audacious hearts filled with courage. Hearts that are strong enough to ask of you to remove from our paths anything that distracts us from you. Hearts that are strong enough to turn to you in supplication, that in every prostration we ask of you to make us those who do only that which is good. To make us those who are the answers to other people's prayers. We ask, Ya Allah, that for any who have been impacted in any way to these tragic earthquakes, that you bring to them ease and you bring to them relief. And you help us to see our part as Muslims, as people of Iman, and where we can always be a source of support for our brothers and sisters of any background who are in need. Give us the strength to see ourselves in the ways that you see us, Ya Allah, and allow for us to be those who always try simply our very best. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وأقيموا الصلاة.